Hey everyone, good morning. It's Rita from Miss Rita to the Rescue here for Friday's Cricket Chat. We're going to change things up a little bit this morning. We're going to be doing some infusible ink. In particular, we're going to be doing some mermaid images that I found in Cricut Designs piece, and we're going to be doing it on some children's shirts. There's a baby bodysuit that I have that I was thinking I would put this on. I want to show you all about infusible ink. So I'll wait a few minutes to dive in before we get started, because sometimes people come on a few minutes after the starting bell, so to speak. How is everyone this morning? So this morning, whoops, my hands, sorry. So good morning to everyone. It's Friday. Is it the last week? No, it's not quite the last week in August, but it's getting there, and not the last week, not the last Friday either, but we're getting close, and there's a lot of talk about schools because everybody's in the same boat trying to figure out what to do with the kids. And so I thought we would dwell a little bit more on a few summer ideas, because, you know, I remember when I was a kid and I swam and swam and swam. The pool was open until Labor Day, and I swam in the pool, outdoor pool at the YMCA all the way up until that day. I just did not want summer to end. So I was thinking that I might have some young friends that are feeling the same way. Maybe it's a little bit chilly in the morning, but it's still swimming weather. So good morning to everyone. Again, we're going to be doing this infusible ink demonstration. We're going to be using the Cricut Joy. And then over here on the left-hand side, I have my Easy Press that's heating up. We're going to be using my iPad here. And let me just open up Design Space. I did post this bunch of images that I was looking at. I posted it yesterday. I hope you got a chance to see it. If not, go back and look for it. But these are these are just a few of the images that I found in Cricut Design Space that were of or relating to mermaids. And I love mermaids. I know you guys love unicorns too. We're going to do some unicorns as well. But I wanted to just show you how I found them so easy. Good morning, David. Hey, Jennifer. Hello. Hello, everyone. Okay, so images are all you need to do, whether you're doing it here on your iPad or on your desktop, is you just have to go to the image search by touching on image. And in this instance, all I did was type the word mermaid into the search engine, and I got a whole bunch of mermaid things. A lot of them were like mermaids or for the 5th grade, kindergarten, whatever. And I was like, okay, I don't know what that's about. But then as you move on, there's a lot of like different mermaids here. What we're going to look for, there's our mermaid. I guess it's mermaid. I thought it was kind of under the sea banner that we did before. But what we're going to look for is something that looks good as a silhouette. Now, for instance, like this one's a mermaid, but it's a lot of different colors. And when we're doing infusible ink, silhouettes work best because we're going to be using the infusible ink as the coloring plate, as the thing that does the coloring. Now, if you were doing iron-on, it would be slightly different because you might use 2 or 3 colors and you would build the image like you would do here. And I can show you that as well. But some of these, they might show up as 2 color, but they would be just fine with using a sheet of infusible ink, and I want to show you what I mean by that once we get there. But here are these images, so when you're looking at them, look for something that's very simple and probably one or two images that could be made into one. And so there's that thought process. These are drawn images, so they wouldn't work very well for infusible ink transfer sheets, but might work with the infusible ink pens. Here's like a little mermaid fish tail and everything else. So, so there's quite a few that you can pull in. So here are the three that I found that I liked, or here's one that says mermaid or whatever. So you just touch on it to insert it, okay? And you insert it there. And here is my Design Space canvas. We're going to be using the Cricut Joy to cut this, but know that you can cut these with any Cricut machine. But I know a lot of people who are new to the Joy want to see how infusible ink works on the Joy. When you're doing infusible ink on the Joy, you have two choices. You can use the infusible ink that's packaged for the Joy. This is one that I have that has a purple and a green, and those would look really good. I think the purple especially would look really good. And what you get in here is sheets that are cut to 4.5 inches by 12. So this is an infusible ink transfer sheet. What you'll see here, let's look at this one. So you'll see here, there's this side, which is a very papery feel because it's kind of paper. And then there's the back, which has like this shiny transfer part. And that is the part that is going to be used to transfer this paper onto your base. But so when you are putting this on your mat, you're going to put it with this side face up. Okay, and we're still going to cut it mirrored. That's the important thing to know about infusible ink and iron-on, is that you always want to mirror your images so that when you turn it this way, because it's mirrored, when you turn it this way and you iron on this side, it will be going the correct order. The letters will be going in the correct order. Now, in a lot of ways, infusible ink is like iron-on. You're going to mirror those images, you're going to weed it, and you're going to apply it with heat. But there are a few differences, and let me just show you. Here's something that I cut out this morning. So here is done on infusible ink. So I mirrored it with this part. This part is facing up, and this actually is cut out. I'm going to show you how to weed it. But once you mirror it, then you turn it this way, and then you put it on your blank, and then you press with the Easy Press. So the thing that I've noticed about the difference between infusible ink and iron-on is the way that it's weeded. So infusible ink, as I mentioned, has kind of a papery feel. So normally what we do with iron-on is we use this pick or this weeding tool, and we start in the corner usually, right? And we pick up the iron-on. But you can see here, this is paper, and so the weeding tool doesn't really work with that. Instead, you kind of have to roll, especially to get started, you have to roll it a little bit, and you're actually taking off the negative image with your hands, not with your machine. I'm sorry, with your weeding tool. You're doing this by hand. And you have to be very careful, especially if your image has a lot of detail like this one. This is the one I cut out, Mermaid Kisses and Starfish Wishes. And I will point out, okay, you guys, I will point out that Oh, good, Aledra. I'm so glad. So anyway, when I cut this one out, it had these on it. See this here? And it had these little teeny tiny holes. It's a starfish, I guess, right? And so it had these little teeny tiny holes, which normally would be okay to weed if you had the iron on. You just kind of poke your thing in there and it would come up, right? But this is paper, and so it becomes a little bit hard. And then not only that is if you get these little pieces on the side, you have to scrape them off or else they'll transfer onto your image. So here is one, right? So you have to either pick it off or take it off, and have to be careful about the images you use. So what I did second time around is I filled in those little holes, and I'm going to show you how to do that using the contour because it seemed easier to me to do it that way. But you just sort of peel it all around here, right? And that's how you get your transfer. Okay, so first you have to cut it, obviously, and you have to pick out the correct image, and I'm going to show you how to do the cutting. But this is all there is to it. This is really the biggest difference between iron-on and infusible ink is this the peeling way. It does require a little extra heat and a little bit different way of ironing it on, but we're covered on that because we have something called the heat guide, the Cricut heat guide. Let me show you that. This is something that's available to you, and I would definitely recommend that you use for all of your ironing on, okay? So I'm just in a regular browser. This is on my iPad, and I just did a search for Cricut Heat Guide. And here's what comes up. And I've shown you this before, but just I want for good measure. Yes, Bren's asking, is the same stuff you use for coasters? Yes, the application's slightly different for the coasters, but it's the same stuff. Definitely the same stuff. And it goes on to t-shirts as well and other fabrics. We're going to talk about that in a second. So here's the heat guide, right? So you choose basically which type of press you have. Now, if you have your own heat press, you have to make a choice. I would probably choose the Easy Press 2 as that's similar to a regular heat tool, heating press, right? And then you choose the transfer material. So in this case, I'm going to choose Infusible Ink Transfer Sheet, and then I choose the base, like what it's going to go on. So in this case, we have a t-shirt, and then we hit Apply. And then here we go. It tells us, right, very, very bluntly, 385 degrees for 40 seconds with light pressure and a warm peel. And what I love about this heat guide is it tells me exactly how I'm supposed to stack it so that my transfer will happen and will be done correctly. So here is my press. This is my pad. And then you see this t-shirt. Inside of the t-shirt is some cardstock. And then there's the t-shirt. And then there's my transfer that goes on facing so you can read it up. And then on top of that is the butcher paper. And then there's my Easy Press. So even if you don't follow the written instructions, you can, if you're better with a visual, here's a visual for you. And it will tell you all that you need as far as supplies and prepping and applying. Yes, so let's talk about the kind of material that you can use for infusible ink. So as I mentioned, infusible ink comes in this box. It's different than if you're doing iron-on. Those are the rolls, okay? And so you get them in the box. You can get one that's just for Cricut Joy, but to be frank, there's nothing special about this except that it's cut to fit on a Cricut Joy mat, okay? You can, I think there's more selection if you buy it in the box that's 12 by 12. And what you get, depending on the box that you buy, you'll get either 2 or 4 12 by 12 sheets. This is a transfer sheet. So let me show you. So this one here, it shows you what you're going to get. So I'm getting 4 sheets, a green one, this one here with the mermaid scales, and then kind of a blue and purple one, and then a green sort of one. You can go over here. It's sort of a rainbowy look. Yes, you definitely need to mirror. Yes, always mirror. Just get in the habit of doing it, even if you have something that is not, that is symmetrical, that you don't have to mirror. Just get in the habit of doing it. So here's the transfer sheet, as I showed you the other one, but it's just bigger. So if you want to use it for the Joy, all you have to do is cut it. And I use my cutter, which is right over here out of camera, but here's the cutter. And so you just put I just want to make sure I have my, because I just bought a replacement blade. So you would put your infusible ink sheet, let me just show you. You would take it and you would put it underneath this sort of where the blade is, the guide, and you would cut it to about 4 or 4.5 inches. 4.5 inches is the width of and by the way, this one's striped. You could have cut it this way too. I just cut it this way. But you're going to cut it to 4.5 inches, which is the width of a Cricut Joy mat. Now, you wouldn't, if you're using this on your Explorer or your Maker, you probably wouldn't, put it on, you wouldn't have to cut it before if you were just using your Maker and your 12-inch. But this is what you would do with this transfer part down. You would put it on the mat like this. I have a lot of stuff here, so let's move it over. Okay, so just put it on the mat, and if you have some like a brayer, or if you don't have a brayer, you can use the scraper or whatever you want to use, or even just your hand to make sure it's really on there good. Okay, so here I'm all ready to cut out. Now you see here that it's starting to lift. You want to make sure that you're going to really get that on there, because lifting will cause problems with cutting, okay? Whether that's on your Joy or your Maker or your Explorer, it doesn't matter. You definitely need to make sure your mat is sticky. Now, I will just kind of interject here about mats, because I remember telling you that I was in the massive cleaning of my mats, and I was talking about my 12 by 12 mats, but then I thought, I should probably clean my Joy mats because they're not new. And I have cleaned them, and the stick has come back. So I just wanted to point that out. So all you have to do when cleaning mats, don't use a solvent or something you buy at the dollar store. Simply put dishwashing liquid on there and use a scrubby side of a sponge and really scrub it. And you can do a kind of a circular motion and let it dry, rinse it obviously, and let it dry, and the stick comes back. And that works really, really well, both for your regular mats and the Joy mats. Okay, so that's how you cut it. Now, what do you put it on? Infusible ink really does well when it is a high polyester count. And when this first came out, the Cricut team was advocating that you use their blanks. And the reason being is that when they tested it, they needed a a base that was standard for them. So that's why they did it this way. But nowadays, people are buying shirts, whether it's on Amazon or in Walmart, and they wanting to use infusible ink with it. The thing that you need to keep in mind is that the higher your polyester count, so these are 100%, if you look here, these are 95% polyester and 5% spandex, okay? And the higher your polyester count, the better it's going to adhere and stay on. It doesn't work with those wonderfully cheap, inexpensive, I should say, don't use the word cheap, but those inexpensive t-shirts you buy at Michael's or what's the name? Joann's, right? It doesn't really work with those. It does work on a high polyester count. So definitely look for that when you're pressing. The same holds true for, I've seen people use something other than Cricut to put on things like, I think they're called koozies, where you put your soda can inside of it to keep it cold. As long as the polyester count is high, then you would be okay with that. So, and Cricut does sell a great variety and has recently added, pillowcase covers, pillowcases, let's see, like a wine or beverage bag, cosmetic cases, and I've shown you that before, but I just figured I'd show you these really adorable. This one here is a 6 to 9 month old baby bodysuit. I know we're not supposed to call it onesie because I think that's a name brand. So this is a onesie, and this is a youth style shirt. And what I like about the shirts, because they are polyester, they don't stretch, they don't fade, and they basically last forever, especially if you're putting the infusible ink on it. It lasts for a really, really long time, and probably your kid's going to grow out of the shirt before he or she wears it out, or a baby is going to grow out. So here's our 6 to 9 month, and here is a youth large shirt that we're going to work on, and both are Cricut brand. But again, you can use other brands if you want, but it does need to have a high polyester count, and just know that the Cricut people, they guarantee that it will stay on with their product, because that's the only kind of guarantee that you can make, right? So let's go about cutting it. So here are also, so these are some really fun, there's been some issues with stock on the Cricut site. Does it need to be? Nope, it does not need to be a white shirt. It can, Cricut makes a gray one. It's just the polyester count that's important. I haven't tried this on like a high polyester count, like dark colored shirt, and I probably should do that, but I've only ever used Cricut shirts because that's what they provide, so that's what I use. Okay. They do. Okay, so Bren's saying that these are best if you go up one size because they fit smallish, and they can't be stretched because they're polyester. So I want to point out that you don't just need this mermaid one. There's all different kinds that you could use. There's even solids, and there's quite a big selection. However, on the Cricut website, which, by the way, if you are purchasing with the Cricut website, use my link, because by using my link and my code, you'll save 10% and you'll get free shipping on anything except for machines and access memberships. So definitely use my link and my code so you can save a little money and get it for free sent to you. Okay, so let's hop on back over to this. I'm talking so much that my heat guide is is kind of making noises. Did you know that? So no infusible, yes. So just to clarify, Dawn, and for everyone, you cannot use infusible ink on cotton shirts. It has to have a polyester blend, and the higher the blend, the better. And these are Cricut ones, and they have 95%, okay? So when we're looking for the images, we already looked for the images. What you want to do is keep in mind that a silhouette, one color, is what you need because you're using this type of thing. This is the other major difference than with iron-on. So for example, what I mean by that is, let's say you wanted to do this one, Ocean Shells, Mermaid Spells. And this one is clearly it's in what, 4 different colors? Yeah, it's got the black, it's got this bluey color, and then sort of these oceany colors. And you could make changes here if you wanted to change the colors, but basically what you would do is you would cut this out and it would go onto 4 different mats. There'd be one for the black and one for the blue and one for this sort of peachy color and one for the tan color, okay? And then what you do is you layer them all using your iron or your easy press, okay? So you cut them out, they'd all be separate, and you do that. But with infusible ink, the great thing is that the pattern and the different colors are in the transfer sheets. So what I do here is even if I find something that I like, for instance, let's see this mermaid hair, don't care, and it's in 2 different colors, and you could technically do this with infusible ink, but personally I would rather make it all be the same color, and I do that by clicking on the image and going to edit. Wait, no, not edit, actions. So here's actions. And when you do actions on the iPad, you get these choices of grouping and attaching and welding, slicing, and that. In this case, we're going to, you can weld if you want, or you can attach. You get that choice. But when you do that, all of the colors meld into one color. So that is how you would use this for infusible ink. And again, you can do layers for infusible ink, but it's a lot more detailed because you have to then sort of cut it out and sort of piece it together because you don't want to put heat on infusible ink more than once, okay? So let's see. Let's make something, I don't know, for let's try, I already cut this mermaid and kisses and starfish wishes. So I want to keep that image. And so what I'm going to do is hit my layers key, and I'm going to go up here where it's that I know is the image that we've selected. Let me just show you again. So here's the image that we've selected, this one here, because it has the box around it. Okay. So then when I hit layers, that's how I know which one is selected, is that it's grayed out. So I want to hide this. I don't want to delete it. I want to hide it. So that's what I use this eyeball for. So now I've hidden that one. And then we have these other ones. I'm kind of thinking, I love this mermaid in training. So let's hide these other ones. And maybe, I like this one too, the mermaid at heart. So let's go ahead and hide these other ones. So that they're there, so you can, go back to them. But we're just going to focus on this mermaid at heart, mermaid hair, don't care. Either one of these would be cute. I guess, I suppose this one would be sort of a good one to do, and this mermaid in training. Now, size. When you're cutting on the Joy, you do have to make sure the size is going to fit on the Joy. So how do you do that? You would click on the image and you would go to edit. here on edit, you see down here, it says width and it says height. Now, this image is coming just under the wire because one of the parameters cannot exceed, well, actually, no, that I think about it, only one of the parameters cannot exceed 4.25 when cutting on the Joy. That's something you have to know. So in this case, let's see, we could change our height to 4.25, and it will automatically, because of that lock, it will automatically change our image and also adjust the width so that it's proportionate. So here, this image will cut on the Joy, and we should probably do this one, or we can do this one here, the Mermaid in Training, maybe for the bodysuit, and I already actually cut that out. So let's focus on this Mermaid at Heart, and I'm going to shade out the other one. So, okay, here we go. So we have an image that is within the parameters to cut. We have our infusible ink transfer sheet on the mat, and then we're going to hit Make It. Okay, so what it comes up here is when you do Make It, oops, I just remembered something. I have my iPad set for my Maker machine. So if you have both machines, the Joy and the Explorer, the Joy and the Maker, you need to make sure that your machine is set at the Joy if you're using the Joy, the Maker if you're using the Maker, because it needs to be connected. And this is what the Bluetooth is about. So up here where my face is, my avatar, I'm going to click on there and I'm going to change my machine selection. And I'm going to switch it to the Joy. Okay. What I also need to do is make sure my Bluetooth is connected to my Joy, because the Joy has no buttons and it's completely run using my iPad or whatever device. So you need to have a connection between this and that. And so to establish on an iPad, I go to my settings, Bluetooth, and I make sure that my Joy is connected. See that? And if it was not connected, then I would just hit it. Now it's still connected, but see, I have all these other Bluetooth, and you can only have one connection going at a time, one-to-one sort of connection, okay? So let's go back to here, and we're going to go and make it now, and what you'll see is we get a choice of mats. That's because we're using the Joy, and remember, Joy has what's called smart materials, or smart iron-on, smart vinyl. But in this case, and I think maybe you might be able to buy infusible ink as smart now, but in this case, it's not a smart material because we actually cut it down and it's on the mat. Only smart materials, really, that's the rule of thumb. Now, I know there are people who say that there's a workaround and you can put that stuff in the Joy, but from the computer's perspective, you need to indicate, are you putting this in on a mat or are you putting it in without a mat, okay? And in this case, we're putting it in on a mat, so we're going to choose on the mat. Okay, now you'll see here that the image has sort of flipped sideways, and that's because one of the parameters, 4.25, and that one happens to be this way. You see that? And so it's flipped it automatically. I have done nothing. That's what's happened. But what I do need to do is I need to mirror my image. So I'm going to come up here to where that's the little mat. It has a number 1 saying that I have one mat. And I am going to choose mirror. Okay, you see that? And if I wanted to, for instance, if I had a really long thing that I wanted to do, I could also use the longer mat, and this is where I would change it, okay? So here's my image, and it makes it a little bit difficult to read because it's backward, but that we want because of the way that it goes on, okay? So we're going to hit continue, and we're going to choose the material, okay? So to choose a material with the Joy, you go to all materials, and you would go and search. You can either do all, favorites, or compatible. And favorites are anything that you happen to choose as a favorite. And so I'm looking for infusible ink transfer sheets. I'm going to favorite this. I'm going to put that little star on there because I want to be able to come back to this over and over again without having to browse my list. It does remind us, make sure that that's in there mirrored, and it tells us we need to have the fine point blade in, and then we can load. Now, one thing that you'll notice here is that my machine's blinking. That means that there's that connection established, and it's waiting for my mat to go in. So all I have to do, because I keep my blade in there all the time, but if you ever need to change your blade, this is how you do it. You just open the clamp like that, and then it's waiting for us to put in the mat. And it does this little check to make sure that we have the correct thing in there and enough material. And all I have to do here is hit go. Okay, so a couple of points. Make sure you always mirror it. Make sure you're putting the shiny side down. And make sure you choose the right setting, okay? So while it cuts, I'll just continue to show you how this weeds. Again, it's kind of papery, so using this weeding tool really doesn't help. I mean, it might help you to get sort of it started, but it's more of a rolling technique, sort of like roll this back from the transfer paper. You see that? Now this is where the ink is impregnated on this paper, and this transfer sheet is just so that we can put it on our base, on our t-shirt or whatever. So we're just going to keep rolling it and see. I'm starting to see the design come out. I do have to be careful because sometimes it lifts like this. That doesn't mean it's ruined. Just make sure it doesn't lift completely off the transfer paper, okay? And if you have like letters, for instance, in this case, I have mermaid, and you see I have this R, so I need to roll it and take that part out, or you'll be kicking yourself if you don't do that, okay? Because you do have to check and make sure you did that, especially if you have something that has letters on it, okay? So I'm just going to keep continuing. Now see there, that's a very small, very thin layer, but it's still letter, but it's still going to cut out. Okay, and as I can hear that my cutout is done, so let's unload it. And let me show you. I don't know if you can see that, but I only have used half this sheet. And I am a frugal person, as I've told you all before. So what I would do is I would just cut. Maybe I would use my True Control knife normally, but I don't have it right here. But this is still good, and hang on to it because I've used this for little projects, or you can certainly cut it out however you want. So here's our cutout, and let us just start by doing this. See, I'm just taking away this paper part, and you can start to see on this side, and it will show white because it's the back end, but that's okay because we know what color we chose, right? And so we'd start to, and I don't know if I can, let me put it in camera because it's so much easier to do it flat. So I only do it that way because I want to show you how it works. Like that, okay? So let me, and I got while I'm doing this, I have my heat press heated up to that 385, remember? And I'm just going to go ahead and clean off this. Do I have a Boston accent? I don't know, do I? maybe certain words, I don't know, but thank you. I'm definitely from Boston, so if I have an accent, then thank you for putting up with it. So I'm just, whoops. I don't know what I'm doing here. Oh, okay. I think I have to keep this on here. This one here is on. All right. It's funny because I grew up with parents that had really thick accents because they were from just outside of Boston, Somerville. And when I got old enough to, be when I was in high school, and then I was looking at colleges, I went to school in upstate New York. So I don't know if you know, but upstate New York and Boston have similar, but they're distinctive especially if you know both of the accents or one of the accents. So when I went to school, which was in upstate New York, I got teased so badly for my accent, again, because of my folks. That's just how we spoke. Everything was, like we said, drawer. I can't even say the word drawer, like something you hold stuff in. We always just say draw. And they just picked on me relentlessly for that, and different words. And not just park the car, because I know how to use my R's. But it's just simpler for me to talk with dropping the R's, I guess. So let's see. This is a little baffling, this part here, because of that. Okay, so I'm almost done here. Sorry to take so long and ramble on. And in this case, you see here, this here is just, let me get real close so you can see it. So this here is part of the paper. And what I find out, it doesn't really matter that it's there, but with my little compulsive behavior, I just tend to use, that's what I use my weeding tool to sort of take it off. Because I don't like it there, but it actually won't matter all that much. But here, I forgot the inside of the E, so let's go ahead and take that out, make sure it's out, and turn it over, and make sure you can read it, all right? So that is about what I want, except I forgot this part here, the little fish tails. Okay, here we go. This actually came apart a little bit, so just make sure. Now, the other difference, if you're used to iron-on, is that iron-on transfer sheets are way stickier than infusible ink transfer sheets. I mean, it's still got to stick to it like this, but it's not as sticky. I wish I had an iron-on to show you. So it's still got a little bit of stick to it. So what you want to do here before we set it up to actually do the transfer is kind of just make sure that what you cut out is the proper side. So for this one, this Mermaid in Training, I think that would look good on the baby bodysuit, but this one is just a little too big. Let me just show you. I mean, it might work for there, but this one is definitely too big in my opinion. I kind of like something little. Mermaid in Training. Maybe you have a baby that really likes to go in the water. So here you go. All right, so let's set up our little package, our sandwich, so that we can transfer this. So what we need is we need our Easy Press mat. These are great if you don't have one. It's good to have, and they often are on sale. In this case, because the baby bodysuit is so small, I might want to cut my paper because I put paper in here, and I'm not sure that it's wide enough to accept this, but let's try it. I think I might want to just cut an inch or two off. And the reason why we put the paper there is to discourage bleeding of the ink to the back or the inside, okay? So we put our little bodysuit, so tiny, and put it in there. Just kind of get it in there just correctly. Okay. One of the things that is helpful is to use a, what do you call these things? A lint roller, because sometimes there are little bits of fabric on here, or perhaps if you didn't just take it out of the package, okay? So here I have my pad, I have my shirt or my infusible ink bodysuit, and then I'm going with the paper in there. Then I'm going to take and just sort of decide this is where I want it. Then you have to use something called butcher paper, and the butcher paper comes inside of the rolls. Let me just make sure that I have some. Might have to open a box. This is just regular butcher paper. You can buy this online, but what you'll find is that it comes inside of the box, okay? All right, so here's the inside of a box, and it's sealed up because it's not supposed to get moisture in there. And then inside here, inside the very inside is your butcher paper. You do need a slice of that. Okay. So I don't need the whole thing. I could cut it, but I'm just going to use it like this, okay? And because I don't need the whole thing, I could certainly, after I'm done, I can just cut it off and get rid of this. This butcher paper is really important if you're using the pens, especially because they bleed onto the butcher paper. You can reuse it when you're using the transfer sheets, but only if it doesn't show having bled through onto the butcher paper. So what we have to do is we need to heat it up just ever so slightly, just to make it so that the machine, or what do you call it, the bodysuit accepts the infusible ink. It just helps it, okay? So just a couple seconds is fine. And then we can put it where we want it. I think I like it sort of here. Just want to make sure. Now I line it up with the tag. Some people have some very elaborate ways of doing it, but I just sort of eyeball it. And I suppose if you're in the business of doing it, you want it to be absolutely perfect, then of course, I just found some more butcher paper on the floor. Okay, so then I'm going to put the butcher paper, and before I start, I'm going to consult my heat guide and make sure that my machine is properly set. Here we go. So it says 385 degrees for 40 seconds. Well, my machine's heated up to 385, but it's listed as 60 seconds. So let me just change that on my machine. And I'll show you. I'll try to show you how we do that. Let me move it over just a little bit. Okay. So to change the time, we're going to press this little stopwatch thing, and we can either go up or down, and we're supposed to do 40 seconds. This is just a auditory reminder that you are to take it off, or you're supposed to keep it on for the 40 seconds, okay? So it's set for 385. There it is, and I'm bringing my machine over, and I'm putting it, I'm not moving it, okay? And then I press the C, and I can give it a little light pressure. It doesn't mean, ooh, you know, it's just kind of holding there. Don't move it, okay? Just keep it on there for the full amount. Now, what you want to do is you want to use an easy press that is bigger than what you're putting on. I have tried this, and I know for a fact that if you're using a bigger transfer, you need to use a bigger machine because you cannot move it with infusible ink. It interrupts the way that the ink goes onto the shirt or the substrate. Okay, so there's my 40 seconds. I can move away my machine and peel off the butcher paper, and it's hot. I want to give it a couple seconds so you don't burn your hands, but what you can see, and you can use either tweezers or something like that, but what you can see is that the actual paper, I don't know if you can see that, but the paper part of the transfer is sort of lifting. You know that that's worked, and oops, look at that. It didn't do that top part. So I can probably come back and hit it just real quick because, and this is where I think that my mini would come in handy. So I'm going to put that on because right here at the top, it doesn't appear that it worked all the way at the top. And I don't want that. I want to make it a full square. Okay. You can use the mini, by the way. Yes, you can use the mini. I'm just heating mine up. I have to use the 3 wavy lines. And so that's a good way to just, instead of just pulling it off, I do the same with iron-on. Is that I just kind of want to check it and make sure, because sometimes I'm not paying attention to everything. So so this is what you would do once it's green, but with the mini, and you can use the mini. Of course you can use the mini. The mini's great for small areas, and I probably should have just done it originally because this is pretty big compared to the baby bodysuit. I love the mini. I think next month we're going to use the, whoops, what happened to my little mini guy? I think next month we're going to give away some minis, okay? Just waiting for it to heat up. Well, for some reason it's giving me a little, well, what are we doing here? So, all right, let's see how we're doing. Now with the mini, you can move it, okay? And you have to kind of move it because it's got a small base to it. But the big one, you don't want to move it because it would like move the whole transfer, and that's not good. All right, maybe I'm being overly cautious, but let's see. Hot, hot, hot. Yeah, it's working. I think it needs a little bit more because it's not all working all together. So let me just do that again, just up here where it just, for some reason, I don't know, perhaps I didn't put it on. See this here where there's like the collar? That can interrupt the, you know, the connection. I don't want to say connection, but the way that the hot plate is connecting to the base, right? Because it makes it so that it's above it, and maybe that's what happened. So I should have started with the mini. Okay, well, whoops. All right, I think I'm just being really picky at this point, but I hope that it worked. I can see it did. I'm pretty sure that it did. Okay, so then once it's cooled off, you can lift it either with a tweezer or whatever, and you're just gonna peel it back. And there you go. Now, I do notice these little dots here, and I'm going to pretend like that was part of the design because that was from that seashell. So here, let me show you. First of all, it's wearable. You don't have to wash it. You don't have to pre-wash it. Yeah, you're right. And you don't have to pre-wash it. And when you, let me just get up real close so you can see. It is part of the fabric. You know, if you've done iron-on before, you know that it sits above the shirt. And sometimes if the shirt is stretched, you'll see that it gets sort of wrinkly or whatever. And in this case, no, it moves with the shirt like this. It's not going to come off. You don't have to do anything special to wash it. It's on there. Now, what I meant about the little dots, see those little dots? Those were those little dots that were vexing me inside of there. See those little dots? That's what those are. But I'm going to pretend like it is fine that way. So let me show you that again. We're going to use the bigger shirt, and we're going to use this Mermaid Kisses one. All right, so I'm going to put my paper in there. Okay, let's put my paper in there, sort of underneath where the machine's going to go. Right? I'm going to preheat it. I'm also going to use my little roller. This is my roller. It keeps going on. My roller. Okay. Let's give it a little preheat. Just a couple seconds. All right. Then I'm going to take my design, put it, and I want to make sure it looks good. It looks good to me. So I'm going to put it here. Again, I'm lining it up with that tag, which is in the middle back of the collar. And I think it will look good here. And I got my butcher paper. Double check my heat guide, 385, 40 seconds. And then in this particular case, I'm going to use the big one because I'm not interfering with that collar. And I hit that C. And again, not really pushing, not moving at all. Just let it heat that entire area so that the ink, so basically what's happening is the ink is coming off of this paper. So see how the ink is sort of on this paper? It's paper, right? So the ink is on there. The heat is causing the ink to heat up and become a gas, and the gas will go into the shirt. That's how that works. Okay. Oh, I just put this over here. And here's our butcher paper. Let's remove that. And it's still pretty hot. So where's my little thing to lift it? I'm only using that because I don't want to burn my fingers. Whoop, yeah. All right. There we go. All right, so let me show you. It's kind of cooled down now. And now I could give this to my friend Avery, who lives across the street, and she can wear it today. I don't need to wash it, and she can wear this until she grows out of it. See that? So cute. And that is infusible ink on the Joy using the Easy Press and also the Easy Press Mini. But look how it's really in that fabric. There's nothing that's going to come off or peel or anything. You know, you see sometimes in the groups, people who have some problems with peeling or lifting from their shirts. And that's because they're using the iron-on. The code for my discount is Miss Rita 1, and that code is going to be all year. And Yeah, you know what's kind of funny is someone saying that the color's more vibrant. So in this case, you can't really see how vibrant the color is. It's only when the heat is applied that that you get to see the final color. But the color that's on the box does really show you how vibrant they are. So that's infusible ink. Now, was that hard? Was it hard? Maybe that took a long time because I talked too much, but it really not hard. It's not much different than iron-on. It's just a few different things that you're going to change. And it doesn't replace iron-on. I love iron-on, but it's just a new sort of technique. And for people, you know, if you're not familiar with sublimation, this is sort of, it's an hobbyist form of sublimation. Let's put it that way, because you will get people that are like really into sublimation and they'll say, well, you can do sublimation. But to be honest, I don't want to learn something. I mean, I love to learn things, but I don't want to learn something altogether new. I kind of have to be eased into it. As I get older, it seems that way. I have to be eased into something new. And I like this. And I'm not going to, you know, invest hundreds of dollars into a printer and ink and all that stuff to do sublimation when I can get very similar results from infusible ink. So that is infusible ink, folks. Are you going to try it? I hope you're going to try it. Now, remember that tomorrow night, because it's Friday, tomorrow night's date night. And we are going to do our question and answers, but and we're also going to be doing our giveaways, but I want to reward somebody or somebodies that came all week to Cricut Chat. So tell me if you came here, give a shout out. Say, I came all week, or I watched all week. Let me know if you have, because I want to give you a prize. So who among you have been? Jennifer, have you been here coming every day this week? Terry, Diane, yeah. Oh, I'm happy to help. Yes, you were, Susan. So Susan Sharp was here all week. So Susan Sharp and Aledra, yes, I know you did come as well. So we got a third one maybe. Is there another one that came all week or watched all the videos? All right, Shelly. So Aledra, Shelly, and Susan. All three of you have won the August, which actually is going to be the brand new weeding tool with the kit with all the different tips and stuff, and the True Control. It's like the True Control knife with all the tools. So you've won. What you need to do is you need to send me an email that has your name as you use it, like for mail, because sometimes people use slightly different names. And your full address, your shipping address, so that I can get Cricut to send you this prize that you won. Yay! And let's see, where do you send it? You send it to my email address, which is MissRita@gmail.com. Okay, so Miss Rita to the rescue, all one word, at gmail.com, and your name and your address. And if you did also come all week, that's okay. We're going to do more giveaways tomorrow night, okay? So if you didn't win today, then there'll be some giveaways tomorrow too. So eventually we'll get to everybody, I'm sure. And it's a great little prize too. Thank you so much. I hope you join me tomorrow night, where in addition to the prizes, we're going to do that question and answer. So you can bring your hardest questions about Cricut, and we'll talk about it. And we're also going to be doing a mandala, one of those layered mandala images. And I will share the image with you later on today, okay? All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming. You watch the replays. Those doctors, right? Okay. All right, you guys, ladies, I should say. Congratulations. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And we'll see you again, hopefully, tomorrow night. If not, watch the replay, but tomorrow night at 7 o'clock here on the Miss Rita to the Rescue for Cricket Date Night. All right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your day. See you tomorrow night. Love you. Bye.